This might be the wildest thing a lot of y'all will ever hear me say, but remember about 3 years ago when the world changed? I was fresh off the heels of my trip to New York City, got back to Germany, and things kind of went bonkers. Now, for any of you out there that there possibly could be that are still unaware, back in 2020, there was a circumstance of events that happened that caused the whole world to be affected. And this time, the whole world had to respond to this. In the beginning, I didn't even think that it was going to be a thing. I made a couple videos talking about it, and I didn't think things would actually change or be different, at least not in the way that it ended up doing. We ended up actually having to shut down things and lock down things and keep people at home. Stores were closed. Stores didn't open up for a while yet, and they were afraid to. Things got so bad that even schools had to shut down, and kids ended up having to learn from home. Now, this didn't end up being so bad, but as I said, I just did not think things would go this far. When stores and things like that did start opening up, there was still kind of a fright and scare to where they had to keep, in the beginning at least, distance between people. Where I live here in Germany, you had to, it was mandatory to have a grocery cart with you, because that kept just the good amount of distance, the right amount of distance that they thought between you and any other patron that might be in the store at the same time. And of course, the nurturing and building of closeness between families and close friends was altered big time. There was no traveling. Families couldn't even visit the same house and have more than a certain amount of people in one house, one establishment at the same time. And I think this is one of the bigger things that affected people, because in the midst of all of this, people kind of learned to do things on their own, be on their own, spend time on their own, find ways to stay busy on their own, find ways to make money on their own, and just basically find a way to do things without the help or aid or assistance or just partnership and closeness of society, people in the society itself. And so needless to say, a lot happened, a lot changed during this time. I mean, a lot of changes. When you stop to think about how different things were during that time to what you see now, you'll see that a lot of things changed and a lot of things occurred. Now, I'm in no way trying to glamorize or sensationalize such a situation happening and, changing everybody's lives against their will. But the internet and social media did become the go-to for dang near everybody. I would say pretty much everybody. I mean, you can only read so many damn books. Video games blew up around this time. Among Us and Fall Guys were two of the games that kind of blew up during this time. Movie watching blew up, video conferencing blew up, podcasts took off. People were taken to the internet like never before, and this was just one of the things that you had to do in order to stay connected with the world, with everyone else. Thinking back personally, I can remember going to places and just not having much interaction with nearly anyone. Like, everybody was just avoiding everybody. And in some twisted way, that was kind of peaceful. It was just kind of a peaceful period in time. Everyone's life was just kind of on pause, and there was really nothing anyone could do to unpause it. So you're hearing me name off these things, and you're probably like, what's to miss about that? What do you miss about that? As I said, I'm not trying to glamorize it or anything or sensationalize this, but I think it was around the 2021, 2022 mark, mostly 2021. I think those were around the times that stick out most in my head. And it might be coming strictly from a content creator's point of view that I'm coming up with this, that I'm thinking of this, but it's around that time that I think I miss the most. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that I miss having to wear a mask everywhere I go, or them trying to force me to get the thing, you know what I mean? None of that stuff. I'm only saying that with the adjustments that we had to make, I'll just speak for myself, with the adjustment that I had to make, it wasn't so bad looking back. There's a lot of channels and a lot of people who have platforms out there that started during that time. I myself even had kind of a blow up moment during that period. So it was kind of when everyone is inside making content, or at least trying to make content, I had no choice. I had to make content like everybody else was trying to do. And I didn't hold a regular job at the time, so my life literally was nothing but making content and staying away from people. And it just wasn't so bad. I mean, I even think it's kind of crazy that I have certain songs or clips or videos, occurrences, or even full-on events that are attached to the pandemic. I'll hear something or see something and be like, oh, I remember that. That came out during the pandemic. Certain songs will even just trigger me to think back to those moments and what I was doing exactly in that moment during the pandemic. That's what some stuff is attached to now. And no matter what I do or say, it's probably gonna be that way for years to come. And as the kids that were too young to remember this come up, we will be saying to them, oh, this was something that happened during the pandemic of 2020 or 2020 through 23. I don't know. Is it still, y'all still doing this? So I know I can't be the only one that feels like this. Like, I have my content and the creation and consuming thereof. I had delivery of anything that I needed, including food. I was able to see and have close to me the people that mattered most, so that didn't change. And I wasn't really missing out on anything by going outside because nothing was happening outside. For however many months the stay-at-home orders and complete lockdown stuff happened, nobody was outside, so you couldn't go anywhere. You weren't missing anything. So don't take this the wrong way. I by no means want to go back to such a time. I don't want to go back to that period. It's just, I mean, there's, out of all the stuff I just talked about, there are some things that I rather not have to deal with ever again. But I just thought it was interesting, and I just know that there's other people who feel this way. In fact, I talked about it while I was at work, and a lot of people kind of agree with me, or they agreed with me after I kind of laid out why I feel this way and why this is even in my mind. But of course, a lot of tragic things happened during this time too, and it's quite possible that some of you watching this video experienced firsthand and very closely to you some of these tragic things. So I am in no way trying to bring this up to bring about negative feelings or bad feelings or make anybody feel terrible. It was just an interesting point in time, and I find from time to time myself thinking back on it and kind of wishing I can go back to those for just a couple of days, go back to those days for just a couple of days, and then come back to today just to kind of see how good I had it back then and maybe do a few things different. I mean, be honest, how many of y'all have really thought back to the lockdown period of the pandemic and wished that you could go back to that? I know somebody out there does. It's not just me.